Hello, I'm Supermoon Tarot. And today we are going to be talking about the second half of the year 2023. I don't know why I said that so bizarrely. And we're going to be getting into it very deeply. It is super long. It is super dense. So much detail, covers love, career, spirituality, important things or events you should know about. It's a good one. I'm very excited about how as you can tell, I'm recording this afterwards. I'm very happy with how everything went, so I'm excited to get into this. In addition to that, I just want to thank everybody who's been so kind. If you would like to support me or this channel, please feel free to tip or donate. I wish I could respond to the absolutely lovely messages you guys send me. I so appreciate both the support as well as the kind words. Thank you so much. Also, and if you would like to do that and be so generous, you can also do that through supporting me on Patreon, where you also get exclusive content in return. It's so fun over there, a wonderful community where we really just get into talking about some really interesting subjects. I gather information from the Akashic Records, we go over psychic exercises, we go on spiritual field trips, guided meditations, Reiki and coding sessions, channeling sessions. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the video I just posted over there that's new, because I post new content over there every time I post over here, so there's always sort of like a nice lining up, is I went to the Akashic Records to look into something called the Gate, which is very fascinating, and I love that it all came to pass by because people are allowed to ask questions over there, and then I, go into answering them. They asked this question regarding a cat and their own spiritual work they did. And I love that. And it's so fun where the universe takes you. Let me get into all of that. So if you're interested, that's over there. But anyways, back to what we have going on. We've got 3 groups in front of us. I want you to sort of contemplate the second half of the year 2023. I'd also love to hear in the comments below, how would you visualize that for yourself? Would you see a calendar? Is it just like an energy you would hold, an intention? Do you visualize it? But however you do it, let me know. But also, hold that in your heart right now. Then pick from our 3 groups, group number 1, 2, or 3, whatever calls to you. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Now that you have, you can go down to the description to skip to your designated course. Designated group. Check out any of my courses. If you'd like to support me, you can also do that there. Whatever. Love you guys so much. Let's get started for group number 1. Group number 1. Let's look at your second half of 2023 by looking at the cards. We've got the Hierophant in reverse, the 5 of Swords in reverse, the Hermit card upright, 7 of Swords in reverse, and the 8 of Wands upright. Okay, now I'm sure you're looking at this and you're saying to yourself, wait, Supermoon, there's only 5 cards here. How are we going to go over 6 months with only 5 cards? Well, here's the really cool thing. So you can read tarot in an infinite amount of different ways. I truly believe that tarot is an art form, and you can be as creative and abstract and one of a kind as you want to be. It's really fun. So we're going to be reading tarot a little bit differently today. One, this is just fun, but also this is actually upon request of my spirit guide. So normally when I'm reading the cards, I like to read the cards that one card is for the most part representing one concept we're going over. You know what I mean? But in this particular case, you will find that each card takes on multiple meanings for multiple different questions. So in other words, these 5 cards are going to be covering love, money, spirituality, important things you need to know. We're going to be going over it all. So just give me a moment to look at the details of all the cards and consult my spirit guides, and I'll be with you in one moment. Okay, so first let's get into money. And it's funny, there's a similar message in money and spirituality I'm actually seeing, which is honestly, I find very interchangeable. I think it's really interesting how the two overlap very often. So first, when it comes to just money and your career in general. So in the Seven of Swords in reverse, it talks about this idea of you really need to let go of and pay attention if you are making anything that is influenced or somehow basically mimicking somebody else's concept and idea, and you essentially want to come from a very original place. And that you'll notice there is, if you see around it, there is a lot of flow going on. But my spirit guide said that if you notice with it being in reverse, there's almost an opposite effect. There is a disconnect in the flow of money coming towards you. Not that you can't receive it, but you'll notice a disconnect the more you feel like, well, everyone else is doing this, I should do this, that type of mentality. Anytime you're copying other people's trends, anytime you're like, this seems popular, I should be doing this, you really want to come from a place of originality, and you will notice there is this direct confirmation in the physical environment around you and the act of money flowing to you when you're not coming from that place. Now, the beautiful thing is when you are coming from that place of originality, the cool thing is it's a complete 180. You have an overabundant amount of money coming your way. And let me ask if it's like opportunities too. Okay, mostly it's money, my spirit guide said, which is awesome. And so you'll get that confirmation right away when it comes to it. And again, you don't want to stress of getting into this mantra of like, okay, well, if I'm practicing what other people are practicing, I won't get money, and okay, this is original, so now I will get money. Try to get out of that head flow. You just want to come from a mindset where you're totally clearing your head, you're getting into what interests you, what excites you, whatever's coming out of your mind, and you're making it because that's what you want to do, that's what you feel drawn to do. And instead you're getting sort of an extra universe reward, if you will, from having fun and finding things that get you excited and going, and you get reconnected to the idea of dreaming. That's an important thing I see popping on over here in the Hermit card. My spirit guide said that you want to actively make it a part of your career, a part of your job to dream, that you want to set aside time regularly, daily. I can't even hear them going daily, where you'll say to yourself, for 1 hour every day, I am dreaming. So we're talking about you put a sketch pad in front of you and you can use it either to sketch out ideas or you can use it to, write down things, but you are letting yourself dream. So you're not approaching it in this kind of type A fashion. I mean, if that's truly how your brain works, like go for it. There's nothing negative about that. But we're not trying to come up with this mentality of being like, all right, dream time. Here are dreams. 5 dreams I have. You're letting your mind wander. You're drawing little flowers for no reason. You're doodling. You have half an idea that maybe never becomes into anything, but you write it down, and the list just kind of goes on of experimenting for the sake of experimenting. And my spirit guide, and including my own self, was highly picking up on this concept where it's like there will be times during these dream sessions where you just get very straightforward, like, ooh, what if I approached work in this totally different manner? What if I made content in this totally different kind of way, type of flow? But sometimes, like how when you meditate, and people often say, and studies have shown that when you meditate at one point, it will positively affect the rest of your day, and other time periods when you're not meditating at all, there will be times where you'll be dreaming, doing your thing, and then at another point in the day or a week down the road, you'll have an idea outside of dream time that could have only come into fruition with you regularly connecting to it. Hi, Peach. Sorry, my kitty's rubbing up against my feet. What's up, little baby? So anyways, back to what we were saying. So that's extremely important, is connecting to originality, realizing originality is going to be the answer to you having flow coming to you. If you ever notice money's having a harder time coming to you, you're too much in a mindset of thinking, well, what is everyone else doing? That's not going to give you what you want, both in happiness, but also that flow. You want to come more from a place of enjoying the process rather than being like, I have to be original. And there's not meant to be stress behind it. You're just meant to reconnect with the idea that dreaming is fun and to regularly set aside time for dreaming, to reconnect to the act of it, to get new ideas both in the moment and ideas afterwards. So that's really important. Now, going forward, we go into love. Now, in the Five of Swords in reverse, the best way I can describe this is I really get this sensation over these 6 months that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It definitely feels like you've been either put through the ringer. And an interesting thing is I get a very strong pull from a good chunk of you that some of that energy is coming from watching other people talk about their frustrations, especially online. And there's this feeling where if you're not going through it, you feel frustrated seeing your peers go through it, which is understandable. But it's really just creating this intense energy of frustration. And again, the best way to explain it is you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. But I want to really reflect on that concept, and we're going to change your second half of 2023 so it's much more pleasant. So in the Five of Swords, we can see that it's a lose-lose situation in that mentality either way. If it was upright, the individual would be in a very uncomfortable position, as we can see here on this sharp mountain with these sharp instruments here and everything like that. But with it in reverse, it's also a lose situation. There's the lightning that could get them too. You want to think of it as like there's being sick and tired and feeling like you're really in that mindset of focusing on that frustration, but then the reverse is to imply letting go of it in such a way that you're almost being like, nope, everything's okay. I will move forward in finding love, and those things didn't really frustrate me, and almost like sort of sweeping under the rug understandable frustrations. The frustrations are not ununderstandable or not valid. They completely are. But either way, it's not about that subject at hand. It's almost like getting off the whole category as an entire entity. So what do I mean by going with that? So I actually see you more diverting from the act of fully looking into love in a more like romantic sense with the Hierophant. It seems like you kind of put it in the back burner. Again, you're not focusing on what isn't working or ignoring what isn't working, but instead you just really enjoy gaining knowledge. And again, not knowledge on love, just knowledge on anything else. And with it being in reverse, we are talking about the unconventional manner. So we're not talking about directly going back to school. We're talking about, again, enjoying information that you gain online, reading books, whatever it is. You see some really cool YouTube tutorials or thesis essay videos. Both of those are like my favorite. I love them so much. Please let me know what you guys think below in the comments below. What are your favorite video essays or like YouTube tutorials to watch? I love them so much. I will be checking them out. But the point is that you're just pulling yourself out of that mindset in a really healthy way. Again, we're not talking about ignoring the matter. We're talking about getting out of that perspective as a whole. Now, ironically, your 2023 is not without love. In fact, I see much deeper levels of experience of love for you than normal, which is really cool. In the Hermit card upright, we see almost, I can't describe it like, I can't understate it is what I'm trying to say, that this depth of love will probably be the deepest you might have ever felt as an adult, which is really interesting. Now, this love is much more, it's interesting. It's not just self-love. It's like love as a whole. Like you really fathom deeply that concept. You fathom it. I see you connecting to it. I see you perceiving it, feeling it, experiencing it really deeply. And there's just a deep level of indescribable inner peace and happiness. So it's a fantastic 2023 for you as you move more into this direction and you let go of this. But keep in mind, the focus is not on love at all for you via like finding people or denying them if you feel that naturally is linking up. And there is, in this love, it is easy. It is not something you have to overthink. There is just, again, and we're talking in a very broad sense. So we're not talking about as in, oh, well, then you will end up finding love with a person. We're talking about you. It's like when you watch a movie and you deeply fathom the idea of somebody else's connection, or you read some sort of poetic concept and you, again, really connect to that idea as a whole. I don't know if you can hear this, because speaking of the love of my life, my cute little kitty right now is eating, so I don't know if you can hear them crunching. If you can, I apologize. Yeah, you can hear them crunching. Anyways, we're just going to do the best we can to tune that out. Apologies. If you ever want me to in the future to stop the camera and then, we'll come back to it, I can do that. But I'm going to just move forward because I don't know why it is, but sometimes when I'm filming, he'll eat and then I'll pause and he'll stop and then I'll turn it on again and he'll eat. So I'm like, okay. So keep that in mind. It's really beautiful. I see deep levels of perception and happiness and really fathoming love in a way you've never fathomed it before. And I also see a lot of joy in connecting to knowledge. And I see a lot of joy out of pulling out of this mindset of frustration and joining the act of frustration that other people are in. So I love that for you. That's really exciting. Now, spirituality is really interesting for you. And again, you'll see how this really mimics the career thing we're talking about. Again, over here in the Seven of Swords in reverse, this talks about the idea of when things are no longer serving you. And again, it talks about that idea of when you're doing something that is working for you. There is this great, we can see it popping out of both sides here. We see this enormous flow in your life. But then when it's not working for you, everything around you comes to a dead halt. So there is this lovely compass, if you will, signs around you to clearly show you if something's working or not. Now, I can get more specific here, which is really great. When we talk about the idea of something no longer serving you, so it appears whatever was working for you in your spirituality, like really worked. Like in general, there was like a better connection to life and things flowing your way. And again, we talk about career and stuff like that working for you in many ways, even though I do feel like it's been getting rough. It's like you're getting those signs. It's no longer working for you into the second half of the year, so you're like not unaware is what I'm trying to say. But the point being is that did work for you, but now it's time to totally change things. And we can get more specific than that. What does that mean when it comes to spirituality and changing things and leaving things that no longer serve you? You want to think of like, what is your philosophy in life and general mantra? So when you approach things, is your mindset like, I only pick things, I only pick things that are really truthful and authentic, and like that's your thing? Or maybe you take on the philosophy that in order to change things in your life at this moment right now, every time you make a decision, you think, what would the previous me decide? And then you choose the exact opposite, right? And you just constantly take on that mentality, whatever that mentality is. You're going to figure out what that is for you. You're going to come up with some form of current simplified life mantra, and you're going to live by it. And you're going to see results, whether that flows towards you or I don't want to say against you, but you notice nothing's happening, and you're going to follow that and notice results immediately. So it'll be very easy to figure out if this mantra works for you, because remember, that's great. The things that your mentalities and stuff like that, it doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just they have served their purpose. You have learned that lesson, and now it's time to evolve to learn other things and discover new ways of interacting with life and see new perspectives. And so you're going to very quickly go, okay, well, this is my new mantra. I'm practicing this. I'm going to actively be conscious of it and practice it. And then if you don't notice anything really changing in your life, any type of flow within the first day or, oh, my spirit guide's speaking up. my spirit guide's like day, like first day. If you don't see any difference in the first day, come up with a new mantra the next day. Now, the interesting thing here is that you might end up picking a mantra that you didn't necessarily feel called to. My spirit guide's chiming in again and going, exactly. Like, let's say for you, it's not necessarily important that things are the most honest they possibly can be, right? There's a certain point where you're like, well, in life, things are the way they can be with some people, whatever, it's not that important to me. But you feel, you decide to take on that as a mantra, and you see results and you're like, that's weird. Like, I'm glad I'm getting results around the life around me. I'm seeing a flow, I'm seeing abundance, but that's so weird that this is my new life mantra. That's okay. Follow it. It doesn't have to be this deep calling that you are trying out a mantra and having results. But something really important to acknowledge here is that if you do take on the self-awareness that what you're having a positive effect from is teaching you something, and what does that mean in the grander scheme of things? Like, what does that represent? What are you gaining from that? And you can answer that question over time as you experience it more. My spirit guide said that you will get far more benefits from it, in addition to seeing just a general flow positively moving in your life. You'll go from feeling stuck to suddenly having all this momentum and then some. So definitely look into it as you see what works for you, and then better understand, well, what is it that you're gaining from it, which is really cool. Now, last but not least, we're going to go over some important things for you to know. Let me just look real quickly. Okay, hold on. So first, in the Seven of Swords in reverse, it does talk about you're going to be losing some friendships the second half of the year. And my spirit guide basically was like, don't worry, it's making room for new people to come in. And they said you really don't want to lament or kind of try to hold on to this thing that just isn't working anymore, essentially. And you want to allow it to sort of just, it is what it is, let it go. It's happening naturally, and don't worry, other people are coming in. But it's just, the way my spirit guide describes it is they've served their purpose. Sometimes friendships are meant to exist for the time they exist, and then, you move on, type of thing. Now, going forward, we see here in the Eight of Wands upright that you want to be much more proactively seek out nature. It's going to be an extremely rejuvenating thing for you, so you can have fun with it. You can sit outside on certain nights that the moon is out. You can take time to sit and connect with a special tree for you. You can go for walks. You can get into bird watching. There's so many ways to just take a little bit of time out of your day to go out of your way to seek the outside. But you want to do that because it will be my spirit's really stressing that it's important. My spirit guide said they don't know it's really important, but it's going to be really important. Okay, it's going to be rejuvenating, it's going to be really important, so keep that in mind. My spirit guide also talked about in the Hermit card that you're going to feel really called to want to have many time periods where you just want to be alone. And they said, don't worry, there are going to be times when you cancel plans with friends. You're not going to lose friends from that. You're not going to lose out on social obligations where people are no longer going to invite you anymore. Everything's going to be okay, but you should follow that. That's what you're naturally being called to do. We talked about a lot of benefits that you're gaining from being alone. We talked about dreaming and self-love and stuff like that, so that's definitely a part of it, as well as other attributes. But don't get in your head or worry about how it could negatively impact other things, because it's different than how you're normally existing, and you want to just lean into that a little more when you're feeling that spur on a Friday night where you'd rather be alone. Over here in the Five of Swords in reverse, again, just a big motto for you over the second half of the year is just letting things go that are not working for you, constantly. Every time you see a lack of flow in your life in any way, that's your key, get rid of it. And my spirit guide was really stressing that they were don't try to change it into something else to fix it. Just fully let go of it. Move on completely. And then last but not least, in the Hierophant in reverse, again, knowledge is going to be like a really important, just natural way you spend your time doing. And we're talking unconventionally again. So again, lots of like watching other people give like video essays or, things like that, or reading books or whatever have you, but you're just going to be really enjoying knowledge hoarding essentially, which is really awesome. So I'm excited to hear what you guys think. Overall, this is a really awesome 2023, and I'm glad we talked about some specific things so that you could either change the circumstances and change the mindset and get the most benefits out of it, or you could just be conscious of what's happening around you and work with it and realize it's a sort of a clue system, a compass for you, rather than feeling like what's happening, and have the universe essentially work for you. So let me know in the comments below. Also, please leave a like and subscribe. Helps out like you would not believe. I love you so much. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's look at your second half of 2023 by looking at the cards. This is the 4 of Swords in reverse, the 10 of Swords upright, the Death card, the 4 of Cups, right? I said that right? Yeah, 4 of Cups in reverse, just checking. And the Magician card upright. Okay. So before you even get into this, I'm sure you're looking at this and you're like, Supermoon, we're about to talk about 6 months of my life. How are we going to be going over that in 5 cards? Well, the fun thing about the art of tarot, and it truly is, I truly believe it is an art because you can just read tarot in an infinite amount of ways. It's so cool. We're going to be reading them differently than I normally do. 1, because it's fun, but 2, actually, because my spirit guide requested it. And you're going to be noticing that not only am I going to be reading the cards differently, but each card is going to take on several different meanings for several different subjects. So within these 5 cards, we're going to be talking about love. We're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about spirituality. We're going to be going over important things to know or events for you. Everything. But you just got to give me 1 second to look over all the details and information and consult my spirit guides, and I'll be with you in 1 moment. Okay, this is a lot of information, so wish me luck that I remember all of it, but I can always just pause and go over it with my spirit guide again if I need to remember anything. So let's get into it. So first we're going to go over money. Over here in the 4 of Cups in reverse, there just seems like a sudden energy that you wake up from. I get the vibe that previously you maybe weren't as passionate or were more passive in your life when it came to making things happen career-wise, financially, that type of stuff. But there's just suddenly like a wake-up calling in the second half of the year. Now, this energy is so fun, and I love that it gets paired with the Magician card, because that's very much the energy that you take on. The Magician also is very proactive, but something important I want you to realize with the coolness that comes around Magician is, yes, he is a master manifestor. He is so cool. But I want you to keep this in mind as you progress, so you can have the most benefits and the most reward and manifestations working out in your favor and stuff like that as you take on this new energy where you're like, I want to make stuff. I want to consciously be aware of how I'm marketing it and how it can reach people, and what can I do to make more people connect to this idea that I'm working on, and so on and so forth. The Magician is capable of all his facilities. So that means he's got the connections to the cups, the swords, the pentacles, the wands. So he's got his energy on lockdown. He's in connection with his emotions and intuition. He understands what's a bad investment, a good investment. He knows to take care of his health and his body, because that's important for him to creating more. He's good with his, not letting his thoughts overwhelm him and following good ideas when they pop up, and so on and so forth. He knows how to speak and be charismatic. I mean, the list goes on. And he reaches for each tool when it is needed, at the time that it is needed. So something that's really important here is you're going to, over 2020, the second half of 2023, you're going to really take on each day in a very present moment. But when you feel an idea come to you, an intuitive pull, a decision, you're going to follow it. So you don't want to get too in your head about pre-planning with bullet journals and planners. You don't want to have your whole 6 months laid out in front of you. And I almost get a vibe that some of you might do it and be like, well, it's just for fun. Things can always change. Nope, you're not going to do that. You're leaving it alone. Now, if you get a spontaneous, idea where you have this plan that will unravel over 6 months and you just feel drawn to do it, that's a different matter. Or if you get this idea that you're going to keep having it exercised like a way you're advertising yourself, and you want to approach it in that way, and that's the idea, then also follow that. But we're talking about, let's say you do something that is with your hands, right? And that's important. We're going to come back to that concept. And let's say you have a ceramic workshop, or you work with wood. You're, I don't know if the term would be carpenter if you're making bowls and stuff rather than cabinets, but we'll just say carpenter. And you're, working on these various projects, right? You would maybe find yourself fully invested in that, right? But let's say in the middle of, you're shaving down a bowl or you're making one out of clay, you stop and you suddenly are like, oh, what if I went out to lunch right now? I don't know why, but I feel like I should go out to lunch right now. I'm going to just stop. Normally I skip lunch. I'm just so into my head. I'm going to just do that. And then all of a sudden you do that and you run into somebody who's your next client, or going to be the in-between link to your next client or opportunity. Do you see what I'm saying? Or all of a sudden you get an idea in the middle of working on something, and again, it's a way you're going to let people know about this thing you're making, right? And you suddenly stop doing it and you work on that concept, right? And so you go and work on that concept. And so it's when you need to think about the future or think about those ideas, you do give into them for a second and work on them. But then when you're working on whatever you're working on, then that's your main focus. So you're constantly balancing this act of being in the present, but sometimes following that intuition and imagination if it pulls you either in a different direction, whether that be spatially, in the physical world, you're traveling to a new location, or you're starting a new project, or if that means you're contemplating the future for a little bit. But you don't want to give so far into it that you think that everything needs to be controlled every second. That's very much not the flow. It's here's a sprinkle of an idea, now I'm pulling back. I don't need the full concept to be laid out. I don't need to know every second or how everything will totally work out, but I'm being pulled here, now I'm back to the present. Now I'm being pulled here, now I'm back to the present. And you're just constantly finding that flow very easily, paying attention to it and giving it importance and sort of making it your philosophy for the second half of the year. So it will bring this proactive energy into just magic. It will just make things happen and really work in your benefit. And it will feel really easy and fun for you continue to be in that workflow. Now let's talk about love. So in the death card, I actually do see somebody waiting for you, and they're almost on the other side of you making these really important changes. Now, this important changes you're going through, this rebirth, if you will, which is very much tied with the death card, that other person is either someone you're currently with, and they themselves are a new person. So they're kind of like, it's almost like things are a little off now and you need to make these important changes in your life. And then as you positively benefit from them, you reconnect with this person you're with and you find that they too have changed. And now you're like together and you're both like new people, so to speak. And for others who are not currently with someone, it's this feeling that somebody new, like a new person, is just not available to receiving you, and vice versa, you receiving them, which is really important until these important changes are met. So the important changes, we start off over here in the Four of Cups in reverse, is again that idea of being proactive. And I want to be really important, it is really important what I'm about to say. It's not just this proactiveness of the career, it's this mentality I'm about to share with you. You do not wait for no one. I'm not talking on a level where it's totally rude and you're just ditching out on people constantly and you're sort of that flaky person that's like so following this flow that it's like, well, I can't call them for lunch, they'll leave midway. I'm not talking about that constantly. I'm more talking about you definitely don't take things personally, but you for sure follow what is important to you. So if you get called up and somebody's like, hey, the only time I have for this weekend to either hang out or a date or whatever is Friday, you're like, well, I'm just not available Friday. And it's like, well, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm working in the studio. I'm making my ceramic bowl. I'm making this wooden bowl, whatever. And they're like, yeah, but you can do that another day, can't you? And you're like, nope, that's what I'm feeling called to do. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing this. And, I'm not waiting around. Or like everybody else is sort of kind of dying down for the night and they're going to bed. And you're like, you know what? It's 9:00. No, I know you, I told you I was going to stay home and watch a movie. And so that's why understandably you called to see if I was around. But no, sorry. I just randomly found this random late night book reading and signing and I'm going to be off doing that. Bye. You know what I mean? It's very that energy. And you take on that energy, and this is really important. You keep that energy. Even when you find like-minded individuals in your life, whether that be for friendship or for romantic love, no matter what, you love them and you're honest with them and you share with them and things like that, but you are not slowing down for anyone. You're very proactive about living your life and you're not waiting around to have somebody be there as a support system to do fun things. So you'll do a lot of fun things alone. If they want to show up and join you, sure, but you are very set in making life happen the way you do, and you're not somebody who's waiting to be molded by other people's actions and choices and opinions. And they quickly are like very admiring of that, but they're like, wow, I got to make some decisions quicker or I'm not going to fit into their schedule. So it's very much that flow and energy. And I want to be clear here, it's very strong and predominant, I feel, for you that you're making this choice and change, but that doesn't mean like you can't completely, if they're like, well, could you do next Tuesday? You could be like, yeah, sure. I'll do next Tuesday. I don't have anything planned then. You know what I mean? Like you can change things and be somewhat malleable in that kind of way. Another change I see over here is in the Magician card. Again, it's very similar to what we talked about with career. There is this sense of you bringing your proactiveness to life. So it's not like you're just having these intuitive pulls. There is magic coming from you constantly, and that's a really important thing. So you're really, and then when we talk about this change happening, it's like you're doing whatever it is that you need to do to manifest. So you're manifesting, and then you're staying in that energetic flow of belief with yourself. You're putting yourself in the right place at the right time because you're allowing yourself to be drawn to that. If you have an idea, you make it happen. And there's this feeling of magic around you, that you're not all talk, that things happen around you, that you're the spot and place to be. And I want to be clear, it's not for the sake of then being admirable in that way and being like, hey, look, it's beneficial to be with me because I can make things happen. We're not talking about that. It's that it is a change that happens, and then that positively affects you being pulled to the right person that matches that. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's really important, is that things come to life and finish in your presence, in your existence. And again, we talked about the various ways that can happen, either just like full on you making it happen, like via like manhandling that, like creating that ceramic bowl, like we keep coming back to as a concept. And I'm so curious in the comments below, do any of you do ceramics? Any of you making a ceramic bowl? Is that why I'm being so intuitively pulled to bring that up as an example continuously? You could describe it as like, you're filling it up with water, which is a very much heavy representative of like intuition and like spiritual knowledge and stuff like that. I actually, on my Patreon, went through the Akashic records of what water means, which was really fun. And I've gone to the Akashic records to find out what ocean means. I did the sacred geometry on it and everything like that. So if you're interested in that, that's over there. But keep that in mind. And then the other changes you need to make is in the Ten of Swords. We have this individual who, like, right as the person would be going up to the castle to fight the dragon and do whatever they're going to do, this end goal, right before they enter it, the right person shows up at the right time and says, hey, would you like any of these swords? They would benefit you right as you're about to reach your end goal. And you're like, oh my gosh, perfect timing. I do need that. You're going to take on that mentality going forward, that you're going to have these dreams and these goals and these end points you want to get to, and you're going to, again, we talk about being proactive. You're going to go towards them with such gusto, but nonsensical gusto, meaning like you don't have it fully worked out, but your new mantra and mentality is, when I get close enough to that goal, I'm going to just magically have the thing that I need to then finish that goal. So when that magical thing shows up, it will be both a sign that you're about to receive it. So you'll be in tune with the universe and understanding like that's your compass, that's your sign from the universe, you're about to receive it. But there's this deep trust and relationship with the universe and yourself that you do not need to worry about the details. You're going to be the delusional one that believes in the craziest, most positive, over the top things happening with no proof. Everybody else says, well, no, you have to have X, Y, and Z before that happen. You're going to be the exception constantly. But as you have these goals and mentalities, your mentality is like, right before I'm about to receive it, someone's going to show up, or I'm going to get that idea, or I'm going to get that thing. Something's going to happen, and you're going to have it, and then you're going to walk into that thing, and it's just going to be the cherry on top of the sundae that completes and makes the goal come into fruition, makes the magic happen, makes it all come together. So it's a mentality that you're going more intensely for these bigger goals, and you're going for them with a lot of trust and a lot of lack of fully knowing what's going to happen, but also a deep mantra and knowing of like, right before it happens, I'm going to get that thing I need, and it's all going to work out and it's going to be okay. And then last but not least, in the Four of Swords in reverse, you want to think of the imagery in this card as well. See how there's two different options that this individual, like sort of like this being is being like, you could choose door number 1 and door number 2. But as you can put it, now my spirit guide used other words that I can't really say right now. But I wish I could, because guess what? Spirit guides can talk however they want to talk. And they will just say, not great options, bad options. My spirit guide was saying that both of these options are terrible, essentially. And that your new like decision and internal, like this is your moral belief system, is you no longer negotiate with bad situations or bad options. And so we're talking about you're in any situation and it's like you could do this or you could do this. And if that circumstance, and I want to be clear, it's if that circumstance has two not great options. So let's say you have not a great boss, right? And that boss is saying like you can either give up some of your, you're not going to get that promotion. You're going to have some of that money taken away, but we'll give you exposure or something like that, right? So not a great option, number 1. And then the second option is like, or you can give up maybe getting credit for something that you did. Oh, so sorry, I bumped my mic. Credit for something you positively did, right? won't be known for it, but you'll get to work on the next project. And again, these are just two not great options, but there is some fearful part of your mind that originally when you're being given these options, you're thinking, well, like, I need this job, I blah, blah, blah. This is you saying, nope, I'm done. I'm not negotiating with this. These are two terrible options. I'm walking away. And that becomes your mentality in relationships with friends, romantic partners, family, coworkers, bosses, everything, clients. You take on this mentality very strongly that if you see that your options aren't great as it is, you don't compromise, but realize you're being given the sign that you need to move on fully, completely from that situation, that person, so on and so forth. So remember, once you complete the very intense proactiveness, the making things magic happen, and just having that philosophy that you will make them happen, that they will happen around you, whether that be something you make or you believe it will happen, you support yourself so that magic can happen. You give yourself what you need so magic can happen. Because I don't know if I stress that enough. That's important. So if you need to like take those extra bubble baths or take days off or do whatever you need to do to feel good to make that happen, but make magic happen, you take on this belief system of both trust in the long-term plan, but trust that you'll get what you need right before it. And you become the person that also, when you recognize bad options, you fully walk away from it. That then turns you into this new person that then enables you to meet on the other side this person who's waiting for you. Whether this person be someone that's new to you because you're currently single, or for people who are already with someone, you get to meet that new version of your partner on the other side of it, which is very cool. And so now we're going into spirituality, which we're actually still focusing here. So we want to look at the reimagining of this card because it's important. It does actually talk about this concept of not so much rebirth, but still yes. Normally this card describes things as a metamorphosis, and that's really important to recognize here. That metamorphosis normally is very much like a caterpillar shedding its cocoon, becoming a butterfly. But instead, we can see somebody who's instead given birth to an idea, and that's really important here because for 2023, the second half for you, it is much more about you getting the beginning of an inclination, something new, something young, something that you need to foster in order for it to become fully grown. And we want to think of it not something outside of you, but almost like inside of you. And that the more you give it love and attention and support and almost like discover within you what that quote unquote metamorphosis is, it will grow and come into full fruition within you. So instead of what the traditional card means, which is almost like an overnight, full on, intense, think about how grueling that is, type of metamorphosis in this way, it is soft, it is slow, it is something you are going to be patient with and discover. You're kind of experimenting. It's not fully declared until you figure out what's right for you and what works. But this sense of rediscovering who that is, that part of you, that newness, comes from, unfortunately, a betrayal. We're just going to leave it very simply as that. There is a person in your life that does betray you. Now, the good news is they don't betray you so intensely that your life is ruined. It's not like that, but it is a big enough deal that it just emotionally hurts and feels like, okay, I guess I'm not doing this anymore type of feeling. You know what I mean? And with that, right after that happens, I get this almost like you're detached, like you're emotionally empty or jaded for a moment in reaction to this. And then amongst that sort of quiet stillness comes this inclination. And that's the beginning of this being born. And again, it's soft, it's slow, and the more and more you give in to these inclinations you're feeling that are different than the way you would normally process life or make decisions, the more and more you're going to see that bloom inside you. And so that's an important thing that you're going to be doing over the second half, which is really fun and full of discovery and very sweet, and honestly helps you relearn how you interact with yourself, because like this imagery here, there's a lot of love and a lot of understanding, and there's a complete abandonment of criticism. And if you don't know something, it's like, that's okay. I'll teach you. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. It's very that flowing and energy wise. Now, last but not least, the important things that you should know for the end of 2023, or the second half is how we're putting it. In the Magician card, we can see that there's going to be something that you make. It is physical, but it's going to, a lot of your happiness surrounds it, which is really fun because that's so open-ended. I mean, it could be like you refurbish a piece of furniture. Maybe it's a product you make a lot of money from. It could be a bunch of different things, but you make something physically with your hand and it just brings you an unbridled amount of happiness around it. And not just like emotional happiness, like other positive things happen around this concept. Over here in the Four of Cups in reverse, and you have to just give me 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry, going through, remember I told you it was a lot of information I was told it had to do with a breakup. Now, this breakup can be anything from a career change, like leaving a job, to leaving a partner. It's something big, but this breakup is being described as such because it feels like something you're so emotionally intrinsic with that, you know, when there is the end of it, you know, you really feel it. You're very conscious of it being a big deal in your life. In the Death card, we again talk about this idea of something being born inside you. But interestingly enough, the second half of 2023 is very dreamy and full of a lot of imagination with you. But this is something really interesting. There is going to be a heavy focus on like a darker imagination. The best way I can describe this, and we're not talking about like dark as in like evil. We're talking about like dark as in like dark academia, like a style, you know what I mean? And you're just going to be definitely drawn to those subjects and concepts. And like, so for example, let's say you were designing like a beautiful outfit for yourself or something like that. Instead of being drawn to much more like brighter colors, you're going to be drawn to like a dark starry night. You know what I mean? Both gorgeous, but different aesthetics essentially. Then over here and the Ten of Swords upright, I do actually see you starting a new business. So even for some of you that have it, you're going to be starting a new one, which is really fun. And then last but not least, in the Four of Swords in reverse, a very heavy sort of mentality or like mantra or like belief system you really practice in that second half is if anything affects or messes with your freedom in the slightest, you fight back, you're out of there, you're done, complete, like it is an important thing for you to feel it, and you're definitely being like, I'm not having it affected. You know what I mean? So please let me know what you think. I would love to hear in the comments below. Like I said, a lot of information. This was a very, very long one for 5 cards, but that's the beauty of tarot. You can get so much information from just 5 cards. And please, in addition to commenting, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's look into your second half of 2023 by looking at the cards. We've got Ace of Pentacles in reverse. I had to think about it for a second. We have the Empress card upright. We have Ten of Cups, a really gorgeous Ten of Cups upright. I love the colors on this card. We have the High Priestess in reverse. And last but not least, we have the Justice card upright. So before we get into any of this, I'm sure you're saying to yourself right now, Supermoon, there's only 5 cards. How are we going to talk about 6 months? Guess what? We're going to be reading the cards a little bit differently today. So if you're familiar with my traditional way of reading tarot, usually one card is representing one thing. There is definitely overlap, but it's very highlighted on specific concepts. But the cool thing with tarot is you can read it however you want. It's truly an art form, and there is so much creativity in it. So not only because this is fun to do something differently, but my spirit guide was actually requesting that I read it this different way. So you're going to notice a lot of the cards are going to have multiple meanings for multiple different subjects, and you'll see how that all works out as we get into this. So just give me one moment to look at all the details and information and consult my spirit guides, and I will be with you then. In one moment. Okay, let's get into it. It's a lot. We're going to be going over love, career, spirituality, important things you need to know. We're going to go over a lot of information. So first, we're going to be starting off with career with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Now, it does talk about in the beginning of this second half that we're talking about of the year that there is a missed career opportunity for you. There are chances that in some cases it's like something that you missed in the sense of like you tried, like you interviewed out for it, and the two of you, whoever was interviewing for you, didn't get what you had to say and what you represented. There's definitely some of that energy popping up, but I'm much more heavily feeling this sense that you're gonna come upon a job opportunity that you missed the opportunity to get, and there's this sense of remorse, like, oh no, it was it aligned with me in X, Y, and Z, oh no, and a sense of deep lament and frustration and almost kind of forced maladaptive dreaming about wanting it so badly kind of thing. Now, the thing is, this is important to know, you're going to be taking on the energy of the Empress card this second half. And yes, she's abundant. There's going to be abundance around you constantly the second half, which is awesome as a whole, because the Empress is not just abundant in money. She's abundant in every single avenue of her life. But an important mentality of her is the reason why she's so abundant is because she carries that within her. So if something isn't ultimately going to be in alignment with that mentality for you of bringing you abundance, it just naturally won't come into your space. So instead of you feeling so frustrated that that opportunity didn't work out because that individual who was interviewing you didn't get it, or that client didn't get your vision, or you see something that got passed along to someone else and you just found out a little too late, you're going to really check back in with yourself and say, whoa. It wasn't in alignment with me. It might seem dazzling and amazing, but apparently it wasn't, because if it was, I would have received it. And that's basically what you're carrying on this second half. There's a lot of flow of like money and opportunities, and I'm getting like a heavy flow of like resources for you especially. So, if you're in the art and crafts field and you're an artisan of some kind, lots of like extra clay coming your way, a lot of extra fabric and doodads and great resources coming your way, or maybe grants and things like that, which is awesome. Ooh, I'm hearing very heavy, my spirit guide's really chiming in with like heavy of like, they're describing it as like things that are grant-like. So for some of you, when we're talking about artistry, that's like a full-on direct concept of a grant. But for some of you who are not in that type of field, it's like there's someone patroning you, they're supporting you in that big financial kind of way, that feels in a similar concept, or maybe some corporation like sees your vision and supports it in that type of way, wants to support you as a whole so you can keep going into your ideas, keep exploring them in type of concept. So again, we're talking about abundance in, you want to be open-minded in how you're receiving it, that you're going to receive it in all avenues of your life, and you're just never fretting or lamenting about how things are working out around you initially. So like, even if you're like, well, I was told I was abundant, but I haven't gotten a job opportunity yet, you will. You will. Remember, the ones that are not coming to you when it seems like it's empty, you're not empty. The ones that are not in alignment are passing you by, and the ones that are moving right towards you, and they're just going to be so abundant they make up for everything in between. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're just holding on that mentality and you're flowing with it to keep that abundance going, because that's important. Not only are you abundant, but that's the mentality that keeps you abundant over that second half. In addition to that, I love sharing this with you. You're going to find something, and I cannot stress this enough. I'm very, it's big. But you are going to be doing something you really, really, really love to do career-wise. So for some of you, you're like, I already love what I do. No. Within that career, you're going to be finding an even deeper passion, something you really love. You didn't even know you could explore it in that way. And for others who haven't found it yet, you will be finding it. And there's just such a deep level of fulfillment and happiness from it. So we're not just talking about you're enjoying in the moment. You feel satisfied spiritually, emotionally, mentally, creatively. It's a very big sense of happiness, which I love that for you. And that makes sense because, again, abundance, remember, abundance in love, abundance in creativity. She is abundant. So I'm excited for you both financially, but I think as much as we all feel called to and forced to care about money, that it is, something that we, like I said it perfectly, that we feel called to, that we have to focus on it to some regard. At the end of the day, I feel that most of us find our deepest happiness from that next level of this is what I want to do. I'm enjoying my day-to-day life. I feel like I'm adding something to myself or the world. I feel like I am in sync with it. I'm the one that's meant to do that. That's such a great feeling. So love that for you. Now going on to love and still remaining with the same card. So this is particularly wonderful in all scenarios. I'm going to go over a couple. So for some of you who are in a committed situation right now, I do see new families being started. And I want to stress this. This is very important. These are people who are intentionally doing it. These are not accidents. So for people who are intentionally doing it, I do see new family members coming into fruition, which is really exciting. For others that are not in that state of mind, I just see strong levels of commitment. So for some of you, it's full on kind of, oh wait, Holy Spirit Guide's introducing. So my Spirit Guide said not marriage, which makes sense because the High Priestess is in reverse. They said, but it's still such a strong level of commitment through their actions and emotions that you just feel this deep sense of you're going to be around. You care about me. You're going to show up for me. And there's just a lot of love and connection for that. For others who haven't met someone yet, I'm really excited to say that you're actually going to meet somebody that and this, I cannot stress this enough, are deeply, deeply compatible with, especially when it comes to love and romance. There's just a deep sense of easy flow between the two of you. And in all the scenarios we just talked about with people who are already together, and exploring that deeper on different levels. And for people who are going to get together, the name of the game for the second half for you in 2023 is just really, I cannot stress this enough, easy love, but love is predominant. Lots of holding hands, lots of gestures, lots of longing and looking into each other's eyes and just getting each other, and a deep sense of love being the main factor in the room and the feeling and the sensation. So it is terribly romantic, terribly easy. Now that's really important. I want you to stress. So if you're ever no, this person's my soulmate. If it is not easy, it is not them. I want this to be burned into your soul. If it is not easy, it is not them. If it is complicated, if you are not really sure their intentions, it is not them. This is so you get it back from them. There's no effort. There's no convincing. It is just so wondrous for all of you in all the scenarios you're in this reading. So love that for you. Very beautiful. Now going on with spirituality, even though we were just on such a high note, we're going to go on a little bit of a low, but we're going to change this. So I do see just a sort of a tripping up on your intuition in the High Priestess when we get into spirituality. Something's off. You're not disconnected. It's just you can feel when you go to be intuitively pulled to something, you're like, why did I get pulled here? This is clearly not the answer or the place I'm supposed to be or the decision I was supposed to make. And it just feels like there's something off and you're tripping up. So we want to help get you into better alignment and connection with your intuition, where you're more conscious that when you are making decisions and acting from that place and living your life, it feels like, yep, I know what's going on. Yep, I know that's the right decision. Yep, I can trust myself and know what decisions I'm making next. So the main reason why it's off, and this is really important to know, is because we want to look at the High Priestess as like an individual and what she represents in the card. So traditionally, she is that cool hermit woman living on, the edge of town, right off in the mountains. She's got like a beautiful temple and she's just doing her thing. She's living her life totally different from everybody else. You know what I mean? And so when she comes to the town and says, hey guys, through my intuition, whether that be a vision that was given to her or she's reading her tarot cards or whatever, she's like, guys, I see that, this thing's going to happen. And everyone else is like, no, the signs aren't there for us, or why would it happen? It's like someone saying it's going to rain today and you're like, it's a perfectly sunny, cloud-free day. What are you talking about? And she's like, okay. And so she doesn't feel concerned that people don't agree with her. She's not worried about if she's even ostracized temporarily about it, because all she feels that is important is her own reflection and opinion, and she definitely is so comforted by it, nothing else can shake her. Now the cool thing is eventually the rest of the community goes, oh, you were right, that thing did happen. Oh, you were right, it did end up raining. And they always come around to her, and they always end up in the long term trusting her and seeing where she's coming from. But she is not shaken by outside opinions. Basically what's happening is you are a little too much reflecting on what everyone around you is thinking and saying. So you have this little tiny voice inside you that has such an unpopular opinion out of nowhere. You'll just feel drawn to it, right? And it's so small you might not even be giving it enough attention to realize it's there at times. It's like a fleeting thought, so fast you didn't even realize you had it kind of thing at times. And when you have it, because you're like, no, everybody else thinks so much X, Y, and Z is going to happen. Like, let's give an example. Let's say there's a celebrity couple and they're doing so great, right? And you're like, I don't know. I don't feel like I can trust that individual. I just feel like there's something bad about them. And everyone else is like, no, what are you talking about? They're an angel. They're so nice. And initially you don't see any proof of this for like a good 6 to 8 months, right? But you felt it initially. It doesn't mean you're standing on, your soapbox and being like, they're horrible. But you have the thought, you stick to it. In this case and scenario, you go, oh, you're right, I shouldn't have thought that. I mean, look, clearly they're wonderful. And then you keep seeing proof after that, and you're like, see, I was wrong, look at everyone else being right. But then after 6 to 8 months, something comes out, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was right. You need to follow that inner voice that's not in alignment to everybody else. It's not about you being shamed for your independent opinion. I do want to be clear about that. It's just being aware that you are accidentally too caught up in what everyone else is thinking and letting it affect your own internal pull, which can work correctly. It's just being influenced by everyone else, which is why you feel that sort of pulling sensation of being like, I'm pulled over here, I'm pulled over there. You're literally being pulled by one person's intuition and somebody else's intuition and somebody else's opinion and so on and so forth, instead of just having it be your own internal monologue that you find the most important. So that's really important here. And so in addition to that, we have the Justice card. Now this is really cool for you, but again, when we talk about finding that inner voice inside, that gets explored on a deeper level. So you're going to be breaking a lot of karma over these next 6 months, which is awesome. And let me explain why, because sometimes people hear that and sometimes that means something for some people, and sometimes it's like, well, what does that exactly mean for me? So the way that karma works out is it pops up in you, and it can be through generational trauma, but it can also be like ancestors, but it can also be through past lives that are unrelated to your bloodline. So we're talking about both here, and I did check that it is both for you. But when it pops up, this is when people have sort of irrational fears of things. This is when you feel called to doing something, and sometimes people consider it like a life's purpose or something they do want to follow, but here's the reality of things. You are not meant to be influenced by karma. Karma is only working its way out of you because it needs to be cleared. It needs to be healed in some kind of way. It happened in a past life. It could be through something that happened to you that was not great. It could be something that happened to you that you feel like is unfinished, or an idea that didn't come to full fulfillment that you either need to understand or you want to have finished, or make the decision that you want to not have in your life anymore. But whatever that karma may be, you are meant to heal it, help it move on, break that cycle, whatever, in order to be you. You want to be the person that is remembered independently and is independent. Each one of the versions of you in the past were supposed to be independent too. All of you are supposed to be independent lives. You're meant to break free of the cycle. So, where does that come in with the breaking of the cycle? You're going to find yourself being called to that inner voice of you more strongly, and you're going to feel that it's more important than you gave it before. So here's an example. Let's say when we talk about generational stuff, let's say you came from a generation where like all the women, got married, had kids, whatever. And you're the first one that's like, I'm not doing any of that. That would be an example of you breaking that. And then for some of you, maybe you're a guy that's being forced into the family business, same concept, generation after generation. And you're like, I know the career I want to go to doesn't seem likely to be long-term successful. I don't care. I don't want to do this anymore. Again, breaking that generational sort of repetition and stuff like that, expectations being put on you. Because I'm also implying sort of the stress that each generation was under by being forced into that concept or dream over and over again without their own permission as well. That would be an example of you breaking it. Another example is, let's say you just feel like on a certain level, you have always felt like negative about the ocean, right? Like you felt like it was a scary thing to go in. You breaking that karma would be like, I'm going to go into the ocean. I'm going to step into it as far as I'm comfortable, and I'm going to try it each time over the course of a week, and I'm going to eventually get to the point where I can go a little bit deeper than I can before, until the point where maybe, you can kind of squat down and get yourself deep in enough where you're up to your, neck. But the point is, you're saying to yourself, even though everything pulls me and says that I shouldn't be here, I'm realizing that on some karmic level, this is some fear from another life. I'm going to decide if I'm not into this or not. I'm going to break this and make my own decisions from here. And so that would be like an example of that, to be clear. And then still following, one last thing on the spiritual note before we go into the important things you should know for the second half is, again, name of the game. Everything comes down to this concept of, do you love it? Is it what you're into? If you're not, guess what? You're not doing it. Like, that becomes the mentality. And I want to be really clear. It is extreme as what the Empress card represents, because the Empress card is so abundant. She will not, she is so like, listen, I'm abundant or we're not talking about it. I'm not taking it if I'm not having the best possible deal. And that's very much what's happening over here, which is why it makes sense the Empress card is so close. If you don't absolutely love the interaction you're having, absolutely love the job you're doing, absolutely love what you're making, you're done. You're moving on, period. And it's not so much, don't think of it as like leaving or breaking up, or you're taking on the mentality of you have a focus, like a telescope lens, and you're just simply shifting that telescope lens to the next thing and seeing, do you absolutely love this? And you're trying different things out until you find what you absolutely love. And when you no longer absolutely love it, you move on to the next thing you absolutely love. But that becomes your general spiritual mantra for the second half of 2023. If I don't absolutely love it, if it doesn't get me excited, we're not talking about like, it's okay. We're talking about pumped, excited about every single aspect of your life. Then you're doing something else. Yeah, my mascara is okay. Get a new mascara. You're getting a mascara you absolutely love. Yeah, my weight to work, my commute to work's okay. We're doing a different commute to work. You're figuring it out. You're getting an electric scooter. You are going to have fun. You're going to get audiobooks. You're going to figure out how can you absolutely love and then X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. And that becomes your spiritual mantra. Now, with that intense pouring on, I passionately told you that, just perfectly reflected that energy over here. We're going into the most important things that you need to know for the second half of 2023. So in the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, give me just a second. This was so much information when I initially got it from my spirit guides. Give me a second to remember. Ace of Pentacles. Oh, okay. I remember now. Sorry, I just needed a second. So in Ace of Pentacles, you're having the mentality and philosophy that if something doesn't connect, if it just doesn't, if there's a misalignment, it wasn't meant to be. And that's definitely a part of your mantra that we talked about over here. In the Empress card, there is somebody popping up, I see, that becomes very important and very influential for you. I'm feeling a very strong case in most scenarios. It's like celebrity driven. Like maybe you come across a new artist you like a musician or there's an actor or something. But whatever it is, it feels very positively influential and you want to follow it. So we're talking about everything from it could be fun, maybe you want to get the same hairstyle as them or try out their style or interior design taste or something like that. But sometimes it's maybe they have certain mentalities they take on creatively or something that you feel inspired by, but it's you're being drawn to this inspiration for other avenues in your life. And again, it's not about becoming them or mimicking them totally, completely. You are still your own autonomous individual, but you're feeling drawn to them. They're important. Pay attention. Notice things that you want to add and try out for your own self and go for it. Then we have the Ten of Cups. Now I want you to really look at the imagery of this card of these two people who are sort of in the dark shadows from leaning onto each other, and this individual who's up here with their wings and they're shining. They got a star in their crown. Their hair's flowing in the air. Something really important to pay attention over this second half. And I thought this was really interesting. My spirit guide was telling me, they said, you don't want to lean onto anybody too intensely. You want to really pay attention to if you feel yourself, even if it's positive, even if it's a supportive friend or romantic partner, if you feel yourself leaning onto them too much for comfort and just kind of help and stuff like that, basically you are not going to be able to shine. That your shining is going to come from a bit of independence. And now we're not talking about not sharing things with people you care about in your life or whatever. We're talking about you being your own capable, proactive person. When you find yourself kind of giving a little too into somebody else's support, you're going to stop yourself and go, thank you so much for the support, but I'm going to do this on my own. And you're very much going to be aware of how deeply you will benefit from that. Then in the High Priestess in reverse, my spirit guide said there is a very important horoscope that you are ignoring that you need to pay attention to. They said it's your sun sign. They said that it is long and complex, so it is not simple, which kind of makes me wonder, should I be doing a zodiac reading then? Is that what you want me to do? Okay, my spirit guide said yes. Okay, I'm going to be doing one. I'm just going to be adding that in there. Okay, I just realized that. I just realized that message for my own self. I'm going to be doing a horoscope one after this one. After this tarot video, I'll be doing another one. I'll do a big long one of all the horoscopes. But they said it's long and complex, and they said it's important, and they said the way you will know it's the right horoscope for you is you're going to internally come up with a sign clue. So what we mean by this is you're going to say to yourself, when I see a bluebird, when I see purple, when I see a guitar, you're going to come up with some little hint or clue, and you're going to tell your spiritual crew, your spirit guides, you're going to say, let me know that this is the horoscope I'm supposed to be paying attention to by this clue. And then that will help, discern things and make it easier to know if that's the right one. And you'll be called to it. But you're ignoring it. You need to go look it up. It's important. That's what you want to start off this second half of the year paying attention to. And last but not least, this is also sort of like a mantra or mentality you're going to pay attention to. When you are going about like accomplishing things, if there is not multiple ways to accomplish the task or get the thing done, you're not doing it at all. You're realizing that that's not the one for you. But if whatever you're doing, there's like multiple ways to accomplish it, then go for it. Then that's the avenue, the path you want to head towards, the decisions you want to head towards, which I think is really interesting because that definitely reflects the mindset of like the abundance. Like if abundance isn't around it, then it's not abundant itself. You know what I mean? Which I think is really fascinating. Something to dig deeper into when you're thinking about that and exercising these mentalities going forward. So I love this for you. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm excited. Please tell me what your zodiac sign is. I'd love to know. I always like to know because, it just depends from like individual to individual, but I'd love to know like percentage wise, like what am I, who am I talking to? I'd love to know. I love you guys so much. I look forward to hearing from you. Please also leave this video a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Helps out like you would not believe. See you next one. Okay, bye.